Welcome back to another episode of
The English Couple.
And today we're having tea in the front room. We were actually going to go out in the van and
Nice old walk.
have a walk in the countryside.
Not walk in the van, walk
No.
from the van
Somewhere.
somewhere.
But the thing was, I had a delivery. You know what it's like? You get these deliveries, they give you a timetable, you don't go out, and it was just on the delivery, 10:30, between 10:30 and 11:30, and it was nearer 11:30. And so it just sort of curtailed the time we had available, and the best part of the day, which is sort of the morning till midday till, that sort of time, really.
Yeah.
So we're inside
Typical.
having a thing. So, life can be a pain at times.
Yes.
So we thought we'd talk about life.
Yes, quite. I mean, it's a funny thing because I say it quite a lot with my girlfriends. That, we intend to see each other so much and so many things that we intend to do, but life just seems to get in the way.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I should be mother, shall I?
Yes, please.
But you've
Because
done
I've already
milk.
put some milk in mine. Would you like some milk in
yes,
yours?
please.
I'll be mother on this bit then. you
Yes,
do the
okay,
next
I'll
bit.
do the heavy bit.
See when?
Yeah, a bit more.
More.
That's enough.
Whoa!
Thank you. Yeah.
That was too much.
Don't go mad.
So yeah, but the irony is, I'm sure we've talked about this before, probably on camera too.
Yes,
but
because we like the BBC full of repeats.
we do like to repeat the same thing. No, but life gets in the way. But
Sugar?
yes, please. Throw me. Oh, good. But in spite of the fact that technology means that we have so many more things that make our life that reduce the time and reduce the effort needed on daily grind chores.
So
Like we've got these
convenient.
we've got these really good vacuum cleaners and dishwashers, washing machines, tumble dryers.
Wait. What did you say? Really good dishwasher?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Here,
really
there's
good-
this one.
The really good dishwasher is you're looking at him. And you're quite good.
I do dishwash at home as well.
Yes. But people have these machines. Sorry, I
do.
broke your flow. Cheers,
You did.
everybody, and thank you for joining us. By the way, somebody left a comment, I can't remember who it was, who said they enjoyed the last video so much they didn't want it to stop. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, this is the 3-hour version.
Extended, unadulterated version.
Yeah. So I wonder how many people watch videos, I know you do, at double speed or triple speed.
Only the talky ones.
And I wonder why people do that. Sorry, this is completely off the subject. But I wonder why people do that, because when you record something, you're recording it at a speed that you think is appropriate for the viewer, and then they go, that's not appropriate for me because I can absorb the information so much quicker, and I want to get through it much quicker. And you think, why? Why do you want to get it through it quick? Because I've got another 400 to watch. Like, oh, okay.
No, I mean, for me, yes, I do that, but it's specifically on ones where people... I know this is what you're doing in your channel at the minute, sitting there and talking to the camera. And yeah, I will listen on double speed if I just want to feed the information straight to my brain.
But do you think you absorb it?
Well, that's the thing. I will do that so that I've got a basic idea, and then I will listen again on a slower speed if I need to.
Yes.
If I'm that interested,
Right.
and I want to digest it some more.
But that's, I mean, we're talking about life and things and convenience and things, and it's, you're speeding things up. Are we not
I know.
going at a really fast pace as it is, and then we're trying to absorb information even faster?
I know I'm a living hypocrite. I mean, a lot of us are. Sorry, did I nudge you or are you laughing?
I was laughing at your admission,
Well,
which I thought was very laudable.
we are, because we all want to save the planet. We all want to, don't want to be
I don't want to save it.
part of the...
I want it to save me. That's what I want it to do.
To be honest, it's not the planet that needs saving. It is us and ourselves. It's not the planet we're destroying, it's ourselves.
Planet will be fine.
Because the planet will just carry on rolling through space the way it has done for millennia, and the way it will do until it burns up in the sun. La 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 la. Whiskers on kittens. But in the meantime, life gets in the way of doing the things we want to do because we've got all these different commitments, be it animals, be it children, be it friends, family.
Why do you think... See, this is something I often think about. Here we are, an intelligent human species. We've
Are we?
evolved... Well,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the thing, is we've evolved, we have civilizations, and of course we've had civilizations come and civilizations go. This is the most technical civilization that could possibly have been, although you have
As far as we know.
as far as we know. I mean, you have the wonders of the pyramids, and they're very confusing because of what they represent if you go through into the mathematics of the numbers and things like that. But anyway, the point being, we have this civilization, we've evolved this sort of life for us, and somehow we have got to a point where everything is extremely fast, everything is extremely stressful, people are having to work many more hours than normal, apart from those people who can't be bothered to work at all or are unable to work. And it just seems it seems an odd way. If you were thinking about making a planet with all the resources that this planet has and a human being that is going to move around this planet, and you were designing it for the benefit of the human to enjoy everything, I'm not sure that what we have now is what you would come up with.
No, quite.
And yet we seem to be oppressed, we seem to be stressed, we seem to be not very healthy, we seem to make very bad choices about the things we eat and how we live our lives by being sedentary, by ingesting all the wrong stuff, and we don't seem to help ourselves very well. And yet we know that we're doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I don't get. Some of us do try, but the majority just seem to be quite happy to shove the wrong kind of foods.
It's partly down to coping mechanisms, isn't it? Because as you're well aware, this world, this universe, in fact, is by nature a chaotic and seemingly uncaring thing. So, taking comfort in things is a coping mechanism. It's a lot for the brain to handle. I mean,
But
we don't think other animals have this existential crisis potential, but except in I don't know, in really bad crisis moments. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I was looking at you going, hang on, what
Fizzle,
you saying?
fizzle, Peter, and John.
Animals don't have this crisis unless they're in a crisis. Is that what you're saying?
No, I kind of talked myself around in a circle there. So let's just move on.
So yes, but you were talking about comfort things, that people do have comfort reactions to things, and that's true. But it is comforting, is it not, to go for a walk in a forest, or to
Absolutely.
climb up onto a mountain and look down and see the horizon on a globe and see the sun rise or the sun set. There's so many things in life that is free that you almost don't need. If you cook good food, proper food, real food, not processed food that's got all the sort of extra salt and extra preservatives and flavourings and numbers and all of this sort of pap, and you eat properly, why are we not satisfied with just very simple, very basic, but beautiful stuff? Why do we need so much of the artificial and the stuff that has no meaning whatsoever? And why are we just spending more time with all this technical stuff and looking at screens which show us life or other people's life? Soap operas, we get into other people's lives, they live the lives, and we sit here not living those lives. Why is that? I don't understand. Why do people do it? I mean, I try not to do it. I don't have a television, so I try not to get involved in all of that.
I watch very little television these days, if at all. The only television I particularly watch, if I do, is children's stuff, for obvious reasons.
What are those obvious reasons?
That I have children.
Oh, yes, that's right, those reasons, just in case you didn't know.
But it is a strange thing, isn't it? I mean, as technology has advanced, our children are conditioned to accept the world as they know it, as it is, and as normal.
Hang on a minute. Oh, yes, they're conditioned to see this artificial world that we have. Not
the
not
one that they're experiencing
yes,
now.
not the real world
No,
that
not necessarily.
seems to be hidden or concreted over or is tucked behind the screens and the electronic stuff. That's the real world. But we're more and more conditioned not to see the real world. We have an artificial version of it. So you can put a virtual reality headset on and see this real world in digital form, rather than actually go out and partake in the real world. I mean, isn't that just a bit bonkers?
It is a bit bonkers. It is bizarre.
I don't understand that.
I mean, I can understand how easy it is to fall into that trap. I mean,
Is it because people are lazy? That they can't be bothered to climb up on a hill and look at the hill, so they will just do it on a computer because we've made it convenient.
No, because when I was in full-time work as a civil servant, I don't know whether I should have said that or not.
Well, you were in work at one time as a civil servant.
Yes,
What's
I
wrong
was.
with that?
I was.
Everybody, I mean, a lot of people have done work as a civil servant. Nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing
I mean,
wrong.
people watching
No,
this saying,
it's
hang
because
on a minute, I'm a civil servant.
anytime anyone ever found out that I was working in the VAT office, everyone
We
went,
didn't have to say it was the VAT office. Now they're all going to hate me.
yes, but I went on long-term sick leave and left in the end because
Anyway, when you were working, let's get on to the point you were
when
making.
I was working full-time, you know, I mean, I don't do well in the office environment, you know,
Well.
the strict office environment. It just destroys me. I need to. Anyway,
And it's not even a natural environment, is
No,
it? I mean,
it's
when you
not,
think
it's
about
not.
that, you've got strip lighting.
and I was, yes, exactly,
People
it was
sitting
open
down at
plan,
desks,
so you've got all these
peering at
different people,
screens.
and being a bit of an empath or sensitive, you know, I can sense all of. It was really bad for me.
But I know, I mean, when,
And I was lucky enough that I could even see trees because there was a lovely church next to the building we were in, and they had a gorgeous garden, which sometimes my mum would come and meet me at to enjoy lunch with me. So I could see trees from where I was sitting, but that wasn't enough to save me.
I can see.
I
I'm
can
just going
see
to go. I'm
clearly
just
now.
going to shut the curtain, ladies and gentlemen, because
Yes,
it's just annoying me. But there was a point I wanted to make then.
Oh yes, no. The point I was trying to make was, so I'd be
Kick the camera.
I'd be at work all day, trapped in this office, getting out to, for a quick fresh air break every now
Yes.
and then. And I could see trees even, but that still wasn't enough. So, but when I got home, it was always a rush to get through the traffic, to get home, to get some dinner sorted out. And then I don't have time then to go anywhere and do anything. So I actually delved into this, this game.
And-
Where it was an amazing cyber world. The graphics weren't amazing, but my imagination is quite good. I just needed the suggestion.
And so you're
And
in a boring
yeah.
job, and then your release is in this artificial world,
Absolutely,
which is
so-
again, it's another sort of a bit of a strange thing. I mean, I was thinking the point I was going to make, which we sort of moved on from, but was that being in an office, some people they're so ensconced in their area of work, they want to ask somebody a question. They email the person who's only sitting in the next desk or down the thing. And they'll email and say, well, what do you think about so-and-so? And they don't get up. Now, I know all it. I mean, I've never worked in that kind of environment, although I've entertained in that. I've been in that environment and juggled and unicycled for various odd reasons, which I won't go into. But when I was married, my wife used to work. She worked in the tax office. Same sort of thing. And there was all this office politics about who sat where and who said what at certain times and their habits and all of this that went on, which is, just that's human nature, that at least that was actually happening. And she would tell me how people would sort of go, oh, I'll just ask Barry. And I'd say, well, why didn't you just get up and go and ask Barry? Oh, well.
Because if you get up and go and ask Barry, you stand at his desk and go, excuse me, hello?
It's
And
just
they
human
just don't
communication.
know.
I know, but
They don't want you to come and
communication-
approach them at the desk.
I just find the whole thing. I mean, one of the things I find for me, which I think people don't understand me very well, is because I've been pretty much out of these systems of work all my life. I've worked in supermarkets. I've worked as a security guard. I've done some very, funny little jobs. But once in my early 20s, I got going as a self-employed person, as an entertainer and all that sort of thing. I have not been as in a team, as a team player. I could be part of a team in a theatre production or part of a team putting on an event for a short time thing, but not as an employee. I would be now unemployable because I'm too much of an independent.
A random element.
A random element, which is why, I'll sit and to have my cogitations and think about things. I don't have people above me, as you would have in office environments, sort of coming down hard on you. This is the level that you can go to. You mustn't make those decisions. You mustn't think for yourself. This is the brand identity. This is how we think. This is our policy. And it's funny when you ring up a utility company, and I would, occasionally ring up and they'd say, oh, I'm a bit worried about such and such, whatever it might be. And they say, oh, well, our policy is to do this. And I said, well, never mind your policy. I'm the customer. What about my policy? And they said, I'm sorry, we don't. That doesn't compute with us. I don't know what you mean. I said, well, you've just told me you've got a policy that you disagree with this, that, and the other, but I've got a policy as well, and I disagree with it too. But as soon as you start throwing them back at them, their own things, they don't like it.
No.
I mean, if they'd, I used to get people trying to sort of say, well, we're sending you an invoice for such and such, and I said, well, I never asked for this. Oh, well, it's part of the thing, we're sending you the invoice. And I said, you do know that talking to me on the phone will cost you £20 an hour? They said, what do you mean? I'll be sending you an invoice, mate. And they said, no, it doesn't work that way. I said, no, it does. You're talking to me, like with solicitors, you ring them up and they're charging you by the hour. So no, you just to talk to me now is costing you 20 quid. They don't like it, turn it around.
But they don't like it up 'em.
They don't like it up 'em. So I very much think differently, I think, than a lot of people, because I'm out of the system. I've resigned from the overall system. I'm a living man. I'm an individual.
Sorry, I made a mistake.
What did you make?
Whole biscuit in face.
Whole biscuit in. You saw that, ladies and gentlemen. Rewind and watch that back in slow motion.
Oh, it was good.
So life is stressful. Life is full of enigma a lot of the time.
Life is trauma. It's what shapes us, what moulds us, and.
So here's a question then. My children in their 30s now, and I look to the future, and I don't see a bright and nice and wonderful future. I think of my childhood, the freedoms we had to romp about on the farmland, in the countryside, without phones, without technology. The nearest I got to technology when I used to play with my mate Peter Richardson is my dad had some old army phones.
Sorry, your name should have been Richard Peterson.
Yeah, should have been. We had some old army phones from, I don't know, the Second World War or whatever, and you would pick up these Bakelite receiver things and go like this, and down the other, and down the line somewhere else would be. So these were phones that were, obviously on the, what would you call it, in the field when you're out in combat. I don't know what in the terrain.
Field. Comms?
Yeah, field. I don't know. So they would probably, somebody would run a line down a trench or something to another one. You could call each other up. I don't know how old these things were. We used to clip them to the barbed wire fence, and one would be at one end and one would be at the other end of a field, and we could go like this. The noise would come out the headset bit, and you go, hello Peter, you all right? Yes. How are you? Yeah, I'm all right. What can you see? I can see some birds. Yep. There's a field. There's a clay pipe. It was all very boring, really, but it was very exciting for us, and we would do this a couple of times, not very long. And other friends I would do it with. And that was the nearest we got to technology. And then later on it was, Super 8 filming and projectors and all of that. But when I look at the children now and what they do, and, your eldest is a sample of that, and mine didn't quite get into that because they're now in their 30s, they've missed that. Phone glued to the hand, looking at the phone, finding it, extremely hard to interact with real people and things. And it's that social weirdness that, to me, you go around somebody's house and you say, how are you? Yeah, no, I'm fine. And then suddenly this thing slipped out and they've just slipped into another world. They're physically there, but they're not there at all. And you're talking to it and you go, oh, it's almost as if that person's just been beamed out.
Yeah.
And kids do that. I mean, I'm not singling your son, but they do that all over the place.
I mean, if we can slide back to when you were saying about your kids and looking to the future, you can't see a bright future for them. This exact thing is what sent me off back into depression when I was pregnant the first time with Elijah. And you've got to wonder, when a mother goes through depression and anxiety and things like that, and the stresses that puts onto the body, what effect does that have on the child? And I do wonder, it's guilt again and again, being a parent, isn't it? I do wonder how much that affects him now.
Yes, but I mean, he's entered into a world.
But I mean, it just compounds it, doesn't it? Everything just compounded.
Absolutely. But what about? Yes, no, and I agree. And you can be depressed, and I'm sure that will affect a child during the gestation period. And a lot of people are worried about things going on in the world and the pressures of this, and they're being frightened. But they're also being frightened at schools And in the institutions, they're being told the world is going to be at an end. They're being told that you can change sex. You can be a man if you want to. Maybe you're not in the right.
It's making it so much more confusing than it
It's so
has to
confusing.
be. It is. Life is already confusing, and given time, given support, given
especially when you get
counsel.
to puberty, you go through life and you
Exactly.
think everything's okay. I've just worked it out. You get to about 12 or whatever it is, and you just sort of go, oh, I've just worked out what life is, and then suddenly your body is doing some very odd things. You're getting some weird notions. You're starting to think about things that you've never really thought about before, and the opposite sex is either appealing to you or the same sex, and you're experimenting. You don't know how to approach your parents because they seem to be in a different world from you.
And anyway, ew.
and yes, and it's all that, and then you've got other people, pressures on social media, the teachers, the television programs you watch, guiding you that such and such, it's all right. You could chop your willy off and stick something else on your chest, and it's going to be okay.
The frightening thing is, because I'll openly admit, I went through a similar kind of thing. I didn't know what it was. I called myself asexual for a while.
A what?
Asexual.
Asexual?
Yes, asexual.
Oh,
in
asexual.
Doesn't need someone else to mate with. Teenagerhood and 20s and stuff. But anyways, but if I had been born now or in the last 10 years and was going through puberty now, it's scary to think that I could have done something stupid.
Yes.
Quite easily actually, without too much effort. And now, well, as you can see, I'm quite a petite female and relatively feminine looking. And that
What do you
would
mean relatively? You're very
I don't-
feminine looking. You're
I
hardly
don't think I see the
butch.
same thing as other people.
You're not butch.
No, I'm not butch. I know.
All right.
all I know is I'm
My
a
name's
small,
Julia.
petite, apparently delicate female. I did the finger thing. Apparently delicate female. So, and that has its advantages and it has its disadvantages, but that's beside the point. But the point is, I could have been so different. I could have absolutely ruined that. Not ruined it per se, but.
It would be so. Yes.
Because I wouldn't have been much taller, I don't think.
So I don't see much. I see a very different future for the children going on, and I feel that actually it's part of our job to try and bring back some of those values that we used to have, the traditional values. That it seems old-fashioned to everybody. It's particularly the young generation who are now being so influenced and so groomed, if I can use that word, which normally you would talk about it being a good thing on a horse when you groom a horse.
Or any pet, or
any
even
pet.
grooming you, in that manner.
Yeah,
cleaning you.
but it has that alternative, as we see with grooming gangs.
It essentially means conditioning.
Yes.
It's
And
a slightly more sinister word for it.
very hard for children to get a grasp of the real joy from a more traditional way of life, a traditional way of thinking, from the world in its natural state. Not this, we're trying to save the world by reducing our carbon footprint, by keeping people locked indoors, by reducing journeys, and all of that. That it's sold as if that's saving the world, but
The thing is,
it's not saving humanity. It's making
no.
humanity into drones.
But to be honest, it doesn't particularly matter what we do in the sense of, all of those issues you just said, because there are other countries and other large places of civilization that are causing far more effect,
So what you're saying is there's places like China and India who
Yes,
are...
I didn't want to say it. There you go. I was beating around the bush and failing to
So
say anything.
China and India are causing more carbon emissions and burning more
than we could
fossil
ever
fuels.
dream of doing. We're
Yes.
a small island. We
Yes.
might be overpopulated already in this
But the
island,
argument there is that we are setting an example for those people to follow. That's what they
Oh,
say.
who says? I mean, they don't follow our example for other things, do they?
No, but the people who you won't let me talk about,
Sorry.
that particular girl that you won't let me mention, if you know who I mean.
Yes, I do know who you mean.
She is the one that's saying, well, we have to show these people that this is, yes. But we know that if America was to just suddenly sink into the ground and everything industrial that happened stopped happening, if everything industrial that happened, not that much industrial stuff happens in the UK anymore, but if that stopped happening, it would make so little significance in the overall CO2 pollution, because compared to China and India, it's so
nothing.
minimal. It's not going to make much difference. And so their argument is that we're trying to show them how to do it. But all we're showing them is actually we will put ourselves into poverty. We will starve.
Yeah, we'll shoot ourselves in the foot whilst we're trying to...
Yes, and they will just go, do you know what? We don't want to do that. We certainly don't want to sort of have a starving nation. We've had that. We're trying to lift ourselves out of poverty. You've gone through the Industrial Revolution, and actually the CO2 is not as grim and as bad and as... I mean, it's the gas of life, for goodness sake. It's what grows plants, and without plants, we are doomed. Rant over.
Yes. Sorry about that. I think I caused that to go.
So, yes, so life... but going back just, I suppose, to be better round it, how long have we done? Quite a bit. Hang on, I've got to go and look at the camera. This is all terribly
Go and have a little
unprofessional.
look-see.
Yeah, we've done quite a long spread in this one. Life is stressful. Life is confusing.
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way of enjoying stuff. But why have we allowed it to get to this? This is the thing I just don't understand.
My question would be, how do we pull back? Because it's so easy. So
people
many of
don't
us...
want to pull back, do they? Because they want convenience. They want something to walk around the house doing the hoovering for them. They want something to wash the dishes. They won't. They just want to sit there and look at their screens. They don't want to even get up. I remember when the rot happened when you got the remote control came in. You used to have to get up out of the sofa and tune the TV. BBC and all of that. That started as we began making things easy for people, and people are lazy. They don't want to do it. They don't want to think. They don't want to. It's just. I don't know that you can pull back because people are not prepared to make a stand.
Yeah, I'm talking about pulling back, like building on floodplains. We learnt when we were building on floodplains in the 30s, i.e. my house, we're still having flood issues now. They're putting a new residential area
greed,
right,
isn't it?
yeah,
There's greed.
Right, north of us, upstream as it were, on a floodplain. And it's only going to impound the issues here. And then we've got the issue of there's the A27 and the Coast Road, the only two roads through Lancing. So if either one of those go down, it's absolute gridlock, which has actually been shutting down a good chunk of West Sussex in the last few days. It's so stressful, and trying to get everyday life through that and everything. But I mean, why can't we learn? I mean, people say to me, "Oh, but you're living in a house that was built on a floodplain. You've done the same thing." Yeah, I moved into it 60, 70, 80, so I can't remember how many, a long time after it was built, after we should have learnt by now, don't build on floodplains unless you're putting those houses on stilts. Don't do it. Because the natural world knows best. Nature knows best. Nature knows best how to deal with floods. Nature knows best how to deal with, heat and things like that. I have my rant.
We both had
It's a
rants
ranting
today,
video
so
today. Oh,
thank
dear.
you so much for watching. We've run out of time, really, because it's about 30 minutes now. So it's amazing how the time
They
goes.
said they didn't want it to stop.
Yeah, they didn't want it to stop. Now you're probably going, how do you stop that?
How do we
stop
shut
it? We
them
can't-
up? Oh, my
can't cope
gosh.
with- we will be back doing another one somewhere, maybe outside, if the weather happens and we don't have to wait for parcels and things. But thank you for watching. Thank you, Julia, for ranting, and for me to be able
Thank
to
you
rant.
for ranting too.
And it's been Lady Grey Tea today, just so you know.
Brought to you by Lady Grey Tea, Rich Tea and Ginger Biscuits.
Until next time.
Bye for now.